Now I'm very happy to welcome back a fantastic handicapper and longtime friend of the show who works on both sides of the window. You know him from his work at mybookie.com and his great plays and insights at docsports.com. Very happy to welcome back Mr. Raphael Esparza to the Oddsbreakers. You can follow him on Twitter at VSI Doc Sports. Raph, my man, how's it going? Haven't talked since the Super Bowl. Now we have more NFL to talk about. How you been, man?
I know that, and I understand that it's NFL's 365 days a year. I don't like it, but I understand it. People know what I mean that because people know I'm not the biggest NFL lover in the world. But I understand the excitement, even though it blew WBC. Everyone should have been watching WBC World Baseball Classic, but we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson every time we had a chance. I think everyone missed out on some great baseball, but it is what it is. It is what it is. NFL draft is here, so let's as a guy that works for books, let's give away free money. The guy that handicaps, I can't believe I missed some. What was I doing? Sitting on my hands, not pulling the trigger. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, of course, but there's so many what ifs. Yet there's also just so many times that you could have capitalized, and if you did, great. And that's kind of how it is. I missed some too. It's like it's hard to predict, but what you do know is the noise sure moves a lot of lines out there, and that's where you kind of try to capitalize on. But being at my bookie, I'm sure that this is the sharpest thing and the biggest moneymaker for the books is the NFL draft, isn't it?
Yes, it's just like I said earlier, it's just giving away free money. Off the air, I told you I talked to a lot of my friends in the industry, and what we call the NFL draft is NFL Customer Appreciation Day. Because I could be wrong on this, but I think the books have lost 5 straight NFL draft days. I could be wrong if someone's watching the show and say you're a freaking idiot. It's 6 or it's 2 of 3. It's not the biggest money maker for us in the world. I know like the last couple of years, like I said, it's just here's free money. Don't forget you can bet on preseason football. Don't forget XFL Week 10 is here. Don't forget USFL Week 2 is here. Here's some free. It's almost like free play that the casinos are giving out because you said it. Sometimes the noise that you watch on TV, mock drafts, and all that, a lot of times they're correct, and a lot of times people jump on that, and we lose. Perfect example. Me and you will probably discuss this. The number one pick. Who's the number quarterback going to go? Wasn't it about a month ago? CJ Stroud was the number 1 pick, and he was minus. I think I saw minus 250 at one time. Now
he's more than that. He was more than that.
Was he? Yeah. He was, and now he's not even close to being a number 1 pick right now, or stuff like that. So I could guarantee you, we'll probably lose on the first number 1 overall pick.
Yes, I hope so because I grabbed Bryce Young at plus 300 when the noise came in on March 27th ish for Stroud, and their idea that Frank Reich likes a tall quarterback, and then they mentioned Wentz and Ryan. I'm like, wait a minute, are you sure?
Yeah,
maybe he wants to try something else. This divorce, maybe go from brunette to blonde or something like that. But Jesus, those are maybe 2 of the worst examples I can think of like his tenure with tall quarterbacks. So I was like, well, I'm going with Bryce Young. I had a friend that listens to this show that lives out there by you, and he sent me a message. Very big Carolina fan. He's like, I think it's Bryce Young. The owner wants Bryce Young. I was like, all right, let's do it. Now I had some options, and I did hedge a tiny bit back with Stroud, but I didn't give up a lot, and it was enough to make a small profit. But Stroud's at plus 800 here for the number 1 NFL draft pick, and it's kind of funny. You see some of these odds up in some of these places, and like even at my bookie, it's like first overall pick Bryce Young minus 2,000, and then first quarterback drafted Bryce Young minus 1,204. Well, if he's not going to be the first pick, I would much rather play minus 1,200 for the first quarterback drafted. It's like why would I play him at first pick? Maybe they go edge rusher and Bryce Young is second. Because you win that, it don't matter. So it's just so funny to see how corny some of these odds are.
Yeah, and like I said, most of that stuff that when you see odds like that, that's just telling you what prop has more money and the threshold is. So when you see something that's kind of a hiccup on that, you can just tell that that's what's going on it. Did we lose you?
What's up, buddy? Sorry I lost you.
Yeah.
We're back, but no, yeah, I was just saying, it's crazy how these books have these discrepancies with with Bryce Young at -2,000 here for first pick overall, and then first quarterback is -1,200, Ralph.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's nuts. The threshold probably on both prop bets are probably so much different because people probably bet first overall pick more than they're going to bet the other prop bets. So everyone says, "Oh, well, I'm sure customer service has probably got tons of emails like, hey, this is wrong,' or stuff like that. What are you guys doing? You guys are crooks,' or stuff like that." So it's to depend on what's the threshold and handle. Tickets written, all that kind of stuff that those guys do that I don't have to do. Thank God.
Well, thank God for that. And so, getting into the draft here, how big is this NFL draft betting come over the past 5 years? I guess from a handle perspective ish. Like, let's just say, let's compare it to like an NBA playoff day, and then let's compare it to an NFL game day.
Well, money, not so much. Ticket written, yes, because let's face it, a lot of these prop bets have very, very low limits. Just like how I said, it's because it's NFL Customer Appreciation Day. If you look around and go to different sites, some sites only have like maybe 5 options to bet the NFL draft. The almighty Circa over in Vegas is not even hit booking the NFL draft. So some people realize, hey, you know what? It's not worth it for us to do all this work and take a minus or stuff like that. So I would say tickets written, those people who do carry it probably get a lot of tickets written. It's on Thursday. It's a Thursday night. You're not competing with friends anymore on NBC. So it's just Thursday night. And you got baseball and NBA playoffs and stuff like that. Now we'll get a lot of questions. Can I parlay the number 1 draft pick to maybe an NBA playoff game or an NHL playoff game? We'll get some stuff like that. But tickets written high, yes. Dollar amount, no. I would say it probably has more tickets written if there's, let's say, a normal 2-game and an NBA playoff day, because normally Thursdays will have 2 days. Let's see, this coming was 2 weeks away, so there might be a third NBA playoff game if a game's like 6 or 7 games. But if there's only 2 NFL NBA playoff games going on, I can guarantee you that it's going to be a really good battle. Who's going to have more dollars amount or tickets written?
That's interesting. Okay, so yeah, it looks like the dollars and the fact that not all the books supply the NFL draft is a big point that you made. Low limits, and there's just bigger NBA plays made, right?
Yeah, I mean, we'll take a 6-figure bet on an NBA in a blink of an eye. We're not going to take a 6-figure bet on who's going to be Mr. Irrelevant or who's going to be the first cornerback selected in the NFL draft.
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, that makes total sense to me. So, getting back into some of the things that you do well, let's talk about some props for the draft. I'm not just talking about like in general, because I guess the whole draft is really a bunch of props, but any like more exotic stuff, like maybe will Roger Goodell turn red in the face when he's being booed or something like that?
Well, I'll be working on a lot of those this weekend. I don't like to put them in too far in advance because some stuff will get leaked out, some stuff like that. So I'm going to put will Mel Kiper's top 20 pick being in the dressing room would be that one person in the dressing room that didn't get picked in the top 10 or top 20 to keep on showing him. I'm going to put who would that guy be and stuff like that. So I'll do weird ones like that. I know a lot of people are going to probably tweet at me or stuff like that. I miss COVID for this. I miss putting out how many dogs are going to be on TV or how many cats are going to be on TV during the NFL draft, or who they're going to kiss first, mom, or they're going to shake dad's hands, stuff like that. When that COVID NFL draft when everybody was on TV, I missed that day because there was so many different options what you could do. And now with social media, I can't even do like what color suit will CJ Stroud wear, because some of these if you follow them, they're like, oh, I just picked up my suit today, and I'll show a picture of it. So that pretty much wipes that prop bet out.
Right. Well, hey, it's going to be fun to find out what you throw out there because there's all kinds of stuff, like the Brock Purdy, Mr. Insignificant type thing, right? It's like
I am going to put out, will Mr. Irrelevant start a game in the NFL 2023-2024 season?
There you go. That's a great one and that's one that's going to last because you get to hold on to the money for a long time.
Yeah.
Some bonus dollars into that. No, that's funny about that one is I didn't mean insignificant. He was very significant. Mr. Irrelevant is what they say. And then all of a sudden, let's going to find out if he's going to become relevant. Maybe like the amount of times they mention him during the first round of the draft. Maybe 0.5 would be.
If I do that, and it's a fantastic prop. When you sent that, I'm like, I'm going to think about that, probably put that out. But if I send it in, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to have to watch the whole NFL draft to count that, because that's the only sad part about my job, about putting out crazy prop bets. And me and you've had a discussion before. I have had to watch horrible movies, horrible TV shows, and if I put any of those crazy prop bets, I'm going to be the one that has to be watching the NFL draft. Not just once, because someone's going to email me and say, hey, some guy says he saw them mention Mr. Irrelevant after commercial 4 in the 5-minute mark, and you didn't. So then I'm going to have to go back and watch it. So sometimes it's a burden to put up some crazy prop bets, because you're watching something awful for many, many times.
It can be awful. And unfortunately, maybe you make a caveat that it has to come from the point that, well, not a commercial break. You'd have to say no commercial breaks, and maybe the point when they're coming on the stand. I don't know, but that's just an idea. And yes, you'll have to DVR it, my friend, and watch it a few times for that. But I don't know if it pulls in enough money, that would be interesting. I'll try to think of some more for you, because I always find fun in doing this. Maybe stuff that's not going to keep you too busy, but it's always fun to watch the exotic stuff out there. What's the most popular draft props that are played out there? Is it always the number one pick, or is there more stuff out there?
Lately, it's last couple of years, we've got so many tickets on quarterbacks drafted in the first round. How many? Because let's face it, quarterbacks are creme of the creme, sadly to say. But 4.5 is this year's number. I can't remember what last year's number was off the top of my head, but that's probably, besides first pick overall, I would say that's probably up in the top 3 year after year after year, because everyone wants to see how many quarterbacks go in the first round. So that one's probably the biggest, one of the bigger bets that we see. It all depends. Now that we have so many states jumping on, I can guarantee you the states like in Mississippi, New Orleans, total SEC players drafted. And now that I get reports where they're broke down into each states in each categories and stuff like that from multiple books, not just the books that I work with and help out with. Multiple books send me these reports, so I can see different areas. Midwest, I can guarantee you that Big Ten draft picks would be higher than normal states or sections in the map would be like. So those are becoming really popular. I would say probably the least position prop bet that's probably making a little bit of comeback this year, because it's a really deep squad, is wide receivers. And usually wide receivers and running backs, no one cares, because they're pretty much a dime a dozen when it comes, especially to running backs. But this year, I think since wide receiver is really heavy, 3.5, getting a lot of two-way action on it, which kind of shocks me. I thought it was good, since it's a heavy.
It was 4.5 for a while.
Yeah, it was 4.5, and now we got hammered on the 4.5 on the under. Instead of putting it to 4, we just switched it to 3.5, so we can get some over money on the 3.5. But I would say wide receiver money coming in has been really, really surprising.
Not to me, because of the smart way is to not draft receivers in the first round, but the idiot way, which a lot of these GMs do, is they fall in love and they find a receiver and then they don't make the playoffs next year. So the year, and I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I think the number was 6.5 wide receivers in the first round, and I went under. I'm like, no way these GMs are going to do this. And they did it. And I was extremely bitter about it. And I was like, I cannot believe 7 wide receivers were picked, right? So after the season, we were just kind of starting to recap and look into what we did well and what we did bad. I noticed that every single team of those 7 teams that picked a wide receiver didn't make the playoffs. And I shouted about it and screamed my head off, but it didn't make my money back. but now you got 3.5 in a draft with only 31 first-round picks. We have to remember that Miami was suspended for falling in love with Tom Brady. Maybe they knew he was going to get divorced. I don't know. But with that whole thing, now we have 31 picks, and it makes more sense that receiver would be taken off. But now you're getting into this 3.5 territory, and you're like, man, these GMs fall in love with these guys a lot and they take them. But the bad thing about this year, I don't know if they changed the way that they do 40 times, but I feel like 40 times are way down, especially in the wide receivers. Some of them aren't even running it for the combine. And I just think that this is a bad wide receiver class, Raph.
Speed. I kind of disagree with you. Speed wise, yes. I think there are a lot of good wide receivers that run fantastic routes, and I think that's I think that's what a lot of teams are looking for. They're not looking for that speedster anymore. They're looking for that guy that can just break away and boom, hit your spot. There's the ball, first down.
And maybe you have some of that, but what's funny is that it's hard to tell because some come from the Pac-12, some come from the ACC.
Why do you have to dish in the Pac-12 right away? Why do you have to blow up in the Pac-12 right away?
Sorry, USC and Addison. Well, he played for Pittsburgh too, but we saw that. But it's just so strange to me to see a guy like Smith-Njigba, really favored hard to go number one. That dude barely even played the last 2 years, in my opinion. I mean, he was like the third guy before under Olave and Carter the year before, and then he barely played last year, and he's still number one because everybody keeps remembering the Rose Bowl against Utah when Utah had guys off the scrap heap playing cornerback in the Rose Bowl because the guy sat out. So that blows my mind, my friend. I have no idea why Smith-Njigba. And I will admit that I did take a small little poke at I think Addison. No. It wasn't Addison. It was a guy from TCU who had plus 600. What's his name outright? I'm going to try to pull it up here. And then I took Jalen Hyatt for at 20-1. And I just think that Hyatt did run the 4.40. He's about the same size as Smith-Njigba and Addison. And he seemed to be faster, and he played for Tennessee, and he did really well too. He did get hurt, but I just took a shot at it because I'm just fading what I know. But sometimes what I know doesn't mean what the teams are going to do. And that's the whole fun about the draft, isn't it?
I think Zay Flowers is going to be interesting. He could be that third. Hold on. Yeah, he could be the third wide receiver going. He can also be the fifth one. So if he's not the third one, if there's someone else, let's say the guy from we just mentioned his name, the guy from USC.
Quentin Johnson was TCU, and USC's Jordan Addison.
Yeah, he's going to be the big key, I think, because I think Jonathan Mingo goes down a little bit more because I don't think he's going to be up there passing that. So I think if Flowers is not the third wide receiver drafted in the first round, then I think that the 3.5 or 4.5 whenever you got under cashes.
Yeah, possibly. Yep. No, and it's funny. Smith-Njigba's 12.5 round and over is the juice. So that just shows that receivers are not supposed to go at least until after 12, according to the books. So I find that interesting too. So yeah, that's one I'm taking a loss on most likely. They're half just smaller plays, but Quentin Johnson I took, and now he's 10-1, and I have a bad number at 6-1, and Hyatt is now 30-1, and I have a bad number at 20-1. So boo on me, Raph, for that one. But one thing that just flipped right back in my direction this week, and this one's now just kind of going back and forth now, is Michael Mayer. I picked Michael Mayer at minus 120 a couple weeks ago to be the first tight end selected. And my thoughts were that Dalton Kincaid had back injury, which is a massive red flag. And that's something that get a GM fired, drafting a kid that gets injured and re-injured. And that information is out there. I've seen it with the Bears many times. And then Darnell Washington is amazing if you look at his tape at Georgia, but just the fact that he's not the best tight end on that team, and Burton was, it has to give you a pause to pick him first. It's like, I'm picking the guy, I mean, for first tight end to go, maybe second. I would look at that, but it's just so, but you have to understand that Georgia's stacked, but it's just so interesting. It's like, you're a GM, you're going to pick the second best guy and the other kid's still in college. What?
I can see that.
So that's why I bet Michael Mayer. So it went down to plus 200. Now it's back up to minus 150, and Dalton Kincaid, who flipped, is down to minus 120. So it was Kincaid for a while. So I'm glad that flipped back to me. So I was happy about that. Do you have any tight end thoughts?
No, I think I just made fun of you for making fun of the Pac-12, and here I am going to make fun of Kincaid. I think he's could be special. It all depends on what team he goes. I think last crappy mock draft that I look at when I'm on the toilet because I just want to shoot myself if I'm looking at it anywhere else. I think it was either Washington or Pittsburgh looking at him on that spot between like 16, 17, 18. I just don't know if like you said, if he's worthy to be the first tight end. I like the guy from Notre Dame. I mean, because you're going to get blocking out of him. I think Meyer is a better blocker than Kincaid
Me too.
was. So if you're going to draft a tight end, you can't just draft a Gronkowski or a guy that's just going to catch the ball and give you touchdowns and do spikes and maybe wrestle when he's done with football. You need a guy that's going to do both, be a great offensive weapon, but also block and help the running game. And I think Meyer is better than Kincaid on that one. So if he's a number 2 tight end, wow, you're getting a steal at number 1. That means he's probably going 20, maybe 23, 24, 25 in a pick or whatever he has. I think whoever's in that category is going to got a really, really nice player.
You know what's funny is that Dalton Kincaid was projected to go to the Packers at 15 on some mock drafts, Mel Kiper, a few others. And that's why he was favored for a while. What I find funny about this is this the Packers' way of just shutting the door, kicking the ass of Aaron Rodgers right out the door?
Pretty much.
And being like, yeah, now that you're gone, we're going to draft a pass catcher.
Yeah, pass catching tight end.
That would just be something else for us Bears fans to see. So I would not mind that. But I mean, obviously, I hope it's Mayer. But I'm hearing Cowboys are looking at him today, and the Cowboys draft a bit later. Detroit possibly could be getting.
I want the Cowboys to draft a running back so I can call my twin brother, who's a diehard quarterback, so I can make who drafts a running back in the first round in the NFL should be fired. But
that's a great segue because I'm also very much against running backs in the first round. It's so funny how big Bijan Robinson is sticking out. He's minus 10,000 to be the first running back there, and. And so running back over 1.5 is plus money, and under 1.5 in the first round is minus, and I understand that. I mean, running backs they just do not move the needle, right? I mean, it's not like it used to be back in the Barry Sanders, Walter Payton days when running backs were looked at much differently. But what I will say is I think Bijan Robinson probably does make it in the first round. I think that number is correct. 1.5 juice to the under.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe he's going to go top 10. I think his over under proposition, I think it was 15.5, 16.5. I think between those number and the under, I think was heavy juice. I think in all 2 numbers that I saw on that one, it just blows my mind that a running back is going to go that high in an NFL draft. So, I mean, no disrespect to him. I mean, he's probably going to be a good running back, but there's such a dime a dozen out there where you can probably get a better running back that probably didn't get drafted, that maybe he went to a smaller school that can squat a house and doesn't fumble and catches a ball, but there's just so a dime a dozen, and which is sad because I thought back in the day, Gale Sayers, you're a Bears fan, so Gary Sayers, Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Christian Okoye. I mean, there's just guys that I would draft as a number 1 draft pick back in the day in the NFL draft. Now they're MIA. They're like punters and kickers.
Oh yeah, and so total tight ends in the draft here at DraftKings over 2 is minus 450. And sorry, I'm pivoting back, but I might be making this play. I might go under 2 because now I can push at 2 because I can understand Kincaid. But here's the thing: there's a bunch of love coming in for tight ends. That doesn't mean that they're going to be first round, but I think that this is where the noise comes in a little bit too much. Tight ends and running backs are just not big first round, drafts. The Falcons just did a top 5 tight end a couple years ago, and he didn't turn out to be a game changer, not at all, So I think that kind of hurts them a little bit too. But yeah, running backs, I prefer a running back that can block for your quarterback a little bit. And so maybe Bijan has some of that, but I'm not big high on this running back class at all either. So, we'll see how that goes. So have you made a few draft plays that you'd like to give out?
Well, I'll talk about this guy a little bit. I think Jalen Carter could be that guy in the room waiting around. We all know about his history, why he's been dropping. I think his position 6.5. I think the under or over is -155. The under is +115, +110. I think he's going to be that one that keeps on dropping and dropping. I don't want to say out of the first round. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, this guy talk was number one possibly pick overall. It seems like many moons ago, and now I just think now in the day of any sport, not just football, but any sport, if you have some kind of a baggage that's they're looking hard at you and stuff like that. So I would not be shocked. So I bet him. I forgot where I bet it at. His over his prop bets
6.5 right now at my DraftKings -130 over.
Yeah, I would not be shocked if he's out of the top 10. It would not shock me if that's the case on that one. I bet total ACC players over, just because I thought the number was kind of flat. That was, I have to say it. Yes, I looked at a couple mock drafts and I just thought, and I had good juice. I think it was a -165 at the time. I think right now I saw -$2
at 3.5 over.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 3.5 total ACC players.
I almost got there. And I stopped, and I wish I didn't, because there's a few guys that are really pointed at there in the ACC to go pretty far, So I was looking at that. What's funny about last year is not one Big 12 player was drafted in the first round. Do you remember that?
That was nuts, completely nuts.
That was absolutely insane. I couldn't believe it. I mean, they're a Power 5 conference. Are you serious?
Yeah,
pathetic.
That was, and I bet the quarterbacks under 4.5. There's no way I see 5 quarterbacks going. I know people are saying, well, Hooker is going to be the big name. Could he be that 5th quarterback? I just don't see. I think his knee. I think that could be a big issue. I mean, he might be the first quarterback drafted in a second round, but I'm still totally blown away that Tanner McGee is so low. I think he's better than O'Connell. I think he's better than Hall from BYU. A little bit shocked on his stock, but I just don't see 5 QBs going in the NFL on first day in the week and in day one. Just because quarterbacks, if you draft him, and they better be ready to go. There's no, I'm sorry. Oh, so and so is going to sit back and he's going to learn like. So Jordan Love did. I'm like, no, if you're drafting someone that high, he's probably going to start or play soon. And I don't think Hooker's going to be ready, 100% ready to go on that. So why would you draft a number 1 draft pick on a quarterback that might not even be ready because his knee got blew up on TV?
I see Mox having Seattle to trade up with the Eagles at the 30th pick or something like that, and they get Hooker. So that's just all noise. That is complete speculation there, and so that's why that number moved a number of quarterbacks. But I
would take the guy from UCLA over. I can't think of the guys from Thompson Robinson. I would take him over Hooker because he's almost the same play. He's not as tall.
Not me. I like Hooker. I disagree with that. I have Hooker as the second best quarterback in this draft, and
healthy Hook. Yeah, I would have.
I think he's going to be healthy at some point. Here's the thing I look at. I think why would the Houston Texans should trade back up maybe in the first round or get him in the second round with that early pick, because Hooker is the guy that's going to take a little time, but you already got a guy there. You got a guy that's been drafted from Stanford and space in his name right now, the current starting quarterback. That's pretty good. And he's, done enough to be respectful, and he should be starting the first 5 games anyway. Even if you draft Bryce Young, they shouldn't put Bryce Young out to the dogs yet to get smeared. I would definitely say you can wait on Hooker a little bit and get him later, but at the same time, I don't like Bryce Young because he's 5'10" and he's skinny and he's going to get bent in half. I think CJ Stroud is the best quarterback in the draft personally.
I can't say that because of the school he went to. Ohio State has not proven to me.
Hey, Justin Fields, come on.
Again, Ohio State has not proven to me to say, hey, you know what? This Ohio State quarterback is outstanding, Hall of Famer. Get his yellow jacket on. I'm sorry, they don't produce elite. And I know I might get hate mail from the OHIO. They just don't produce
I'm from
elite,
Chicago.
elite quarterbacks. Every other position, you can get good. The Ohio State, but quarterbacks, until someone can prove me wrong. Hopefully, Justin Fields this year, maybe, or maybe CJ Stroud would shut me up. But I am not wasting my hard-earned money to draft Ohio State as a quarterback.
You know what? And that's just how bad I think this class is, because that was my knock against them too. The system has not produced. Justin Fields, the jury is deliberation. I said it is not there yet for Justin Fields. So I agree with that. But here's the thing: look at the kid from Kentucky, Levis. I mean, his numbers were terrible. He didn't win big games. He got creamed the big games. You know, there wasn't like anything there that showed me that he's not Mitch Trubisky coming in, you know?
Yeah, I can see that.
And that's my problem with him. Let's look at Anthony, was it Robinson from Richardson. Anthony Richardson, 54% completion percentage. You know, I mean, the guy, if you watched Florida games, the reason they won any games is because he ran the ball and he was way bigger. He's not bigger than people in the NFL. You know, that's years of a project. How is he up there? I actually believe that Stetson Bennett is probably the most ready for the NFL, even though he's the size of Bryce Young. But then you have a guy from TCU that was extremely lucky this year, and he made a lot of play. But he ran a 4.52 40. He ran the second fast 40 of a quarterback.
Yeah, you know, it was Max Duggan. I couldn't think of his name. Thank you.
Yeah, Max Duggan. And then Dorian Thompson-Robinson, it was even slower than him. And so I just don't like the quarterback class. This was supposed to be an amazing quarterback class, and that's why last year Kenny Pickett took pick 20 or whatever, 2021 to get picked by the Steelers last year. But I'm not that impressed with this quarterback class. I don't see a Trevor Lawrence. I don't see Pat Mahomes. I don't see a Herbert. You know, I don't see the big like guarantee. You know.
Yeah, I agree. There's no guarantee, and I totally agree with you with the Kentucky. I know everyone was look at his arm strength. First of all, if I'm wearing a pants called Levi's and I have to call you Levis, it's spelled the same. Is a big check mark against you for if I was an owner on that. So but he was horrible against SEC top defenses. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. So I agree with you. I'm not gonna. I agree that this quarterback draft is not as big as what everyone's all hyped out about. I don't understand the hype of Richardson. They already talk about changing his mechanics. Well, then why are you drafting so high if you have to change this guy's mechanics when you get to his program? So, I agree.
All right, good stuff. Well, hey, man, I drafted. So a couple of the plays I made were lines move great. And Will Anderson, I have it under 3.5 at plus 350, and now he's at minus money. I'm not sure.
Money. Nice plus money.
Yeah. Thank you. But here's the problem. That could be absolute garbage. It's so funny. I'm walking in with all this value, but I can't it's hard to hedge him because you're not going to see over 2.5 props, right? I guess I could bet him over 3.5 and then just make money on both sides, but it's not that astronomical that I'm ready to do that. But it's so funny. It's like even these big bets that you have good numbers on, they could still falter for you. So I'm really happy about that value. And the other one I made just recently, a week ago, was Anthony Richardson over 4.5 at plus 125. Now he's at minus 330 over 4.5. So those are three really good draft picks with the Bryce Young at number one that I've made so far. So I'm trying to be careful. I don't want to screw up and mess up my potential profit. I gotta, do some thinking, but I am going to take, for this show and the purposes of this show, I'm going to give out the tight ends under 2 at plus 300. Now it's probably going to push. I doubt that Darnell Washington goes and Kincaid goes they both go in the first round to completely spoil me. But I am fine with pushing on this. And I also think there's a chance with 31 draft picks that both of them fall in the second round. You're getting plus 300. I'm glad that they moved it up too. So I'm going to do that for a half unit, Ralph.
Hey, I'm going to throw. You mentioned him. I wasn't going to say anything, but you mentioned Stetson Bennett. I'm going to bet 6th round at 4-1 and he gets drafted. A lot of people think he's not going to get drafted. I say he's going to be an XFL year 2 quarterback. next year and try to build around him. As look at this guy, big college guy, played XFL, and now he gets drafted. Then someone picks him up after XFL season 2, and now he's in the NFL. That's the storyline that Disney told me about. But I think he's gonna get drafted. So I took 6 to. I'm gonna take 6th round and 4-1 sometime in the next couple of days.
Look at that. I mean, you're taking a shot at the 6, but the 6 is perfect because the paranoid team doesn't want him to fall to the 7th, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I like the thought. I like
my head.
Get out of my head. What's so funny about this is I think, like I said, he's the most ready. But here's a team that needs him: the Miami Dolphins. I mean, he's kind of ready. He played under big, tall guys at Georgia. It's not like he was a complete NFL offense at Georgia, but he wasn't like that collegey of an offense. He's playing with a lot of NFL players, future NFL players there, and he's accurate. And the kid's got a big heart, and he wins, and he had to prove himself. Well, here's the thing: Tua gets concussions when you look at him. He might just fall over.
Yeah, he's learned how to fall down.
It's going to happen this year. You need a guy that's kind of ready to come in. And maybe you should have a better second string quarterback. I don't know. But I think he's a guy that could fit in if 1 or 2 quarterbacks get injured easily at Miami. So that's my pick for them.
Would that be too bad? Would that be a horrible prop if I bet over under concussions Tua has next football season? Would that be too far? Too far?
Well, not quite as far as more heart stoppages like DeMar Hamlin or anything. That'd be a little farther, but concussions is pushing it.
I like how he came out yesterday, said he's fully going to play and all that. But I remember that whole situation happened. And all these people like, oh, he died because of the COVID vaccine. It's because of. I'm like, the kid's alive. The kid's going to play football. You idiots.
It was a freak thing, and I don't remember. I think you've had people dying running, and playing sports because their heart stops. It's not when they say
my first one. My first one was playing basketball.
Yeah, there you go, and it happened to you. So it's like this has happened. It's just something happens at the right time, and there's a diagnosis out for it. But it's cool if he can come back. I think he's going to come back, and that's what they're saying anyway. So I'm not going to bet comeback player of the year because if it doesn't go to him, it's going to be wrong. And he's already got serious juice tied to that one. Well, great stuff, Raph. I appreciate all your insights here for the draft, my man. Where could our listeners and viewers get your great information and prop plays?
You can find me over at DocSports.com. You can find me over on Twitter at VSI.Sports. You can find me on Instagram at Raphael Esparza. You can also find me on one of my new sites that I run. You can bet that. It just gives you all the crazy stuff that you can bet. If you're going to look for week 1 NFL draft or week 1 odds, you won't find them there in the NFL. It's all about the crazy stuff that you can actually bet in the world. And so I tell you where to go and stuff like that. So it's a fun thing to do. I've been doing the show and I'll talk about the crazy prop bets with you. And so thank you for having me on. And I hope everyone enjoys NFL Customer Appreciation Day next Thursday.
I'm sure everyone will, my man. Raph, thank you so much for giving us those insights. Customer appreciation, free money. They're giving it out. Just got to do a little homework and get that information because sometimes these aren't even juiced as much as what they're supposed to be when it comes to sports betting. Make sure you guys check out Raph. He's a fantastic handicapper at Doc Sports.